the city skyline burned under the shadow of the approaching darkness. Standing atop a skyscraper, the elite Lieutenant Mira surveyed the weak mortals below. His mission was clear: absolute destruction in the name of the evil organization. He adjusted his black gloves, preparing to unleash a wave of chaotic energy. Suddenly, a bright spark of pink light cut through the gloom. Mira narrowed his eyes as a figure descended from the heavens. Out of the shimmering dust stepped the magical girl, Mamori. Time seemed to stop as Mira caught his first glimpse of her face. She was far more adorable than any report had described. A thunderbolt of realization struck Mira's cold heart. He felt a warmth he had never known spreading through his veins. Mamori raised her wand, pointing it directly at the villain on the roof. She shouted for him to cease his evil ways immediately. Mira didn't hear a word, mesmerized only by the way her ribbons fluttered. He wondered how such a fragile girl could carry the weight of the world. He noticed her magical outfit had small hand-sewn patches on the hem. The realization that his enemy was impoverished hit him like a physical blow. Mira jumped down from the building, landing with effortless grace in front of her. Mamori stepped back, her wand glowing with defensive energy. Mira reached into his cape, but not for a weapon. He pulled out a box of high-end imported chocolate truffles. He extended the gift toward the confused magical girl. He told her that a warrior must maintain her blood sugar to fight properly. Mamori eyed the box, her stomach letting out a loud, traitorous growl. She hadn't eaten a proper meal in 2 whole days. With trembling hands she took the box and opened it. Her eyes sparkled more than her magic ever could at the sight of the sweets. Seeing her happiness, Mira felt a surge of triumph greater than any conquest. But then, his communication device began to beep insistently. His superiors were demanding a status report on the invasion. He quickly lied, claiming the magical girl was putting up a fierce resistance. Mamori was too busy stuffing a truffle into her mouth to notice the deception. Mira realized he couldn't stay any longer without drawing suspicion. He told her to prepare for their next battle with a stern voice. Mamori waved goodbye, her face covered in chocolate smudges. As he flew away, Mira immediately began searching for the best local steakhouse. He couldn't stop thinking about her living conditions and those small patches on her dress. Meanwhile, back at the organization, a shadowy figure monitored Mira's feed. The general wondered why the conquest was taking so long. Mira knew that if he didn't produce results soon, they would send someone else to finish the job. He had to find a way to save her while pretending to destroy her. Deep in the shadows of the city, a pair of glowing cat eyes watched the exchange with greed. Mamori's familiar was already planning how to profit from this new development. Back at her tiny apartment, Mamori looked at the empty box and felt a strange presence behind her. A letter had been slid under her door, stamped with the seal of the evil organization. Mamori stared at the black envelope with trembling hands, fearing the evil organization had finally come to finish her off. Upon tearing it open, she found not a death threat, but a high-end coupon for a luxury steakhouse. Her talking cat familiar, Hibana, snatched the coupon away with his tiny paws while sniffing for a trap. The cat's eyes immediately turned into dollar signs as he realized the value of the free meal. Meanwhile, at the evil headquarters, Mira was pacing back and forth in his dark office, overthinking his gift. He worried that a steakhouse coupon was too obvious for a villain to send to a magical girl. He decided to monitor the restaurant disguised as a commoner to ensure she actually ate the meal. The next evening, Mamori arrived at the restaurant wearing her only clean dress, which was faded and patched. Her stomach gave a loud, ungraceful growl that echoed against the marble pillars of the entrance. Watching from a nearby corner, Mira felt his heart melt at her sheer humbleness. However, Hibana the cat was riding on her shoulder, demanding the most expensive wine on the menu. Mira's blood boiled when he realized the familiar was exploiting Mamori's kindness for his own gain. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the street as a low-level grunt from Mira's own squad appeared to cause chaos. Mamori didn't hesitate, setting down her fork to transform despite her desperate hunger. Mira realized that if she fought now, her expensive steak would get cold and go to waste. He leaped into the fray, not to help the grunt, but to end the fight as quickly as possible. With a single snap of his fingers, he ordered the grunt to retreat immediately. Mamori, now in her magical girl outfit, stood frozen with her wand raised, wondering why the enemy left. Mira landed in front of her, crossing his arms and putting on his most menacing yet secretly adoring face. He claimed he only stopped the attack because he didn't want anyone else ruining the girl he intended to defeat. Mamori's eyes sparkled with a mix of relief and a strange new feeling of being protected. Mira told her to go back and finish her meal before he changed his mind about destroying the city. She bowed politely and hurried back to the table, her stomach growling once more. Mira stayed outside, leaning against the wall to watch her through the glass as she finally took a bite. The look of pure joy on Mamori's face as she tasted the expensive beef was enough to make Mira's weak. He noticed Hibana trying to steal the leftover bones and meat, stuffing them into a bag for himself. Mira decided that this magical girl needed more than just one meal, she needed a consistent supply of resources. Over the next week, he began staging fake raids on her apartment building that always ended with him accidentally dropping groceries. Mamori started to find bags of expensive rice and high-grade flour left on her doorstep daily. She assumed it was a secret fan or a blessing from a magical deity, never suspecting the evil lieutenant. Hibana, however, began to suspect something and tried to charge Mamori a protection fee for the free food. Mira, watching through a hidden spy drone, decided the cat had to be dealt with for the sake of his crush's happiness. He set up a battle in the park, specifically designed to lure the cat away from Mamori. The cat immediately fell for the trap, diving headfirst into the pile of catnip while Mamori watched in disbelief. With the familiar distracted, Mira walked up to Mamori and handed her a thermos of hot cocoa. He told her it was poisoned with a slow-acting toxin that only high-quality sugar could cure. Mamori giggled, realizing that his attacks were becoming increasingly beneficial to her health. Mira's face turned bright red as he realized she was starting to see through his evil facade. Their moment of peace was shattered when a massive shadow loomed over the park, signaling a real threat. It wasn't one of Mira's units, it was a rival division from the organization sent to replace him for being too soft. He stepped in front of Mamori, drawing his blade to defend the very enemy he was supposed to kill. From the shadows of the trees, a cold voice announced that Mira's betrayal had been documented in full. Mira froze as the High Commander's voice echoed through the snowy park like a death knell. Mamori clutched her worn magical wand tightly, sensing the overwhelming malice radiating from the trees. A towering figure emerged from the darkness, wearing the jagged armor of the evil High Command. The commander demanded to know why Mira was feeding their sworn enemy instead of destroying her. Mira tried to explain that it was all part of a complex psychological torture tactic. The commander looked down at the luxury steak dinner sitting on the bench and didn't believe a word. Suddenly, a second magical girl leaped into the fray, her bright blue hair trailing behind her. This newcomer was Hibiki, a rival who believed Mamori had become too soft for the job. Hibiki accused Mamori of consorting with the darkness for the sake of a free meal. Mira stepped forward, his cape fluttering as he blocked Hibiki's path to the small girl. He declared that no one, not even a fellow hero, would interrupt Mamori's dinner. The High Commander roared in fury at Mira's blatant insubordination. He summoned a legion of shadow minions to seize both Mira and the magical girl. Mamori dropped her fork in terror as the monsters surrounded them on all sides. Mira drew his dark blade, but instead of attacking Mamori, he turned it toward the minions. He fought with a grace that even the new magical girl had to admire from afar. Hibiki realized that the evil lieutenant was actually protecting the city's heart. She dove down and joined the battle, her blue energy clashing with the purple shadows. Mamori realized that for the first time, she wasn't fighting her battles alone. She raised her wand, and a massive pink heart erupted into the night sky. The High Commander shrieked as the pure energy of Mamori's kindness burned his armor. Together, the unlikely trio pushed the forces of darkness back into the abyss. As the silence returned to the park, the High Commander retreated, vowing revenge. Mira stood there awkwardly, his uniform torn and his secret completely exposed. Hibiki sheathed her sword and asked Mira why he cared so much for a clumsy magical girl. Mira mumbled something about protecting the quality of his future conquests while turning bright red. Mamori walked up to him and softly took his hand, her eyes shining with tears of joy. She thanked him for the meal and for staying by her side when things got scary. Hibiki sighed and decided that maybe this weird arrangement wasn't so bad after all. She shouted back that she would be watching them, especially if there was more stake involved. With the threat gone, Mira realized it was Christmas Eve and the city was beginning to glow with festive lights. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, beautifully wrapped gift box. He handed it to Mamori, telling her it was just a tactical bribe to keep her from getting stronger. Mamori opened the box to find a pair of warm fluffy mittens and a voucher for a year's supply of bread. She put the mittens on immediately and hugged Mira with all her might. Mira slowly wrapped his arms around her, finally accepting that his heart had been conquered. From a nearby bush, the greedy cat familiar watched them, already planning how to charge Mira for the wedding. The snow began to fall more heavily, blanketing the world in a soft white silence. Mira knew his life in the evil organization was likely over, but he had found something much better. Hand in hand, the villain and the magical girl walked out of the park and into their new life together. The city's Christmas bells began to ring, signaling a peaceful end to their long struggle. True victory wasn't found in conquering the world, but in protecting the one person who mattered most.